Welcome to another episode of the Procurement Pulse. Today with us is Adam Fineberg from My Personal Recruiter. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Friddy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Well, thank you for joining us. I'm excited about today's episode. I think we have a lot of synergy that we can talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of synergy, like you said. We spoke initially last week, and on our first call, we explored a lot of great things. So, yeah, I'm excited for the podcast and to answer some of the questions.
Awesome. And I think what I want to jump in with is something we discussed last week is the term reverse recruiting, right?
Yeah, it's
Can
a
you tell us a
fairly
little bit
new
more about
concept.
that? What is it? And how is it different from regular recruiting?
Yeah. So, as you know, traditional recruiting, a lot of times it's either contingency agreement or retained agreement where the recruiter, such as yourself, works for a specific company to help them fill a role. And obviously, this has been in practice for many years. And what we do with reverse recruiting is we work on the opposite side. So instead of working for the actual employer, we work for the job seeker themselves. And we can provide them with support from documentation preparation to actually executing the applications for them and leveraging different types of AI and different types of tools also to help them expand their network. It's a tremendous opportunity in the marketplace as there's all these tools and resources and companies that are really designed to help companies. They're really not designed to help
Yep.
candidates. And it's designed to process candidates, the system that we have in place, not really advocate for them. So this gives individuals an opportunity to really get some extra firepower behind their job search.
Yeah, I get those messages daily, right? Sometimes dozens, emails, LinkedIn messages. Hey, I'm looking for a job. Can you help me? And I always have a hard time explaining, and I feel like it always takes me way too long to explain to them that that's not really something we can do. I would love to help them. And there's certainly instances where we can help the occasional candidate, right? But we just don't have the size and scope where we can help them. Some of the larger firms are Corn Ferry, right? That have 1,000 open jobs at any given time.
Mm.
Chances are they might have something that's a fit for you and your background and the location you're looking for and the salary you're targeting. But for us as a boutique recruiting firm, right, we have dozens of jobs, not hundreds of jobs. And
Mm.
the chances, and we work nationwide, so the chances that we have something that fits what you're looking for are pretty low. And if I go to a random company and say, hey, we have this great candidate here, are you interested in hiring him? I'll get ignored 99% of the time because they don't want to pay us a fee, right? So
Right.
I feel like just having the term reverse recruiting will help me make that explanation a lot quicker and say, hey, what you're actually looking for is not to work with a recruiting firm like ourselves, but what you're looking for is a reverse recruiting process. And I'll be happy to send them your way. But maybe tell us a little bit more about your company, how it works, and
Yeah.
what candidates, what do they look forward to?
Absolutely. So as you know, you're one of the newest members to our recruiting network. And we have over 240 other partners, more than 240 other partners. And what we do, and as you'll find out over the coming weeks, is we're going to start to review your vacancies and we're going to start to submit specific candidates for those vacancies. And this will obviously allow you to make more placements, but for us, it'll allow us to help our clients secure more interviews. And that's really what it comes down to, right? We can't do the interview for them, but we can get them to there. We can get them to the interview. And we do this in many different ways. So the typical process starts where the client does some sort of free consultation or discovery call where we really get to qualify them. We understand what are their needs, and then we talk to them about what the service is. If they decide to move forward, that's when they'll subscribe through our software, and then they have an onboarding checklist of items that need to be completed. So naturally, it's their job search. So we need to gather the information from them to start executing that. And immediately the team will start to reach out, introduce themselves, but we cover all aspects. So from there, they're going to be assigned a team of people. They get 4 individuals actually assigned to each of our clients. This includes a writer to do all the documents, a recruiter who will use tools to find jobs and apply for our clients, and a career coach who will help them, build the proper strategy using our tools and resources, our technology, and then help them to with coaching along the way. And then the fourth and final person on the team is the customer success manager. They'll be pulling any sort of data or holding the team members accountable or just making sure that the client is getting all of the services that they desire. So when they have this full team of people, everyone is trained, everyone understands exactly what they need to do. They do this either full-time or part-time. So their job is to do that particular task or group of tasks. It's So the team helps us to execute the applications, the documentation, et cetera. And we also, again, strategically target our recruiting network. So we have different levels of partnership within the recruiting network. And we're gradually trying to get more companies like yours to join our network, but also to move up in the different levels that we have. So we have kind of the baseline is the broadcast level where we just send out text messages. Then we have the exchange level, which you're joining, where we would essentially send out candidate profiles for specific vacancies that you have. And at the highest level, our distribution level, which one day maybe we'll get you there, is we'll just do one-on-one introductions when we know that someone is relevant. So for example, and I mentioned this on our last call, we have people within supply chain. We have people within operations that are relevant for some of the positions that you have. So, we're more than happy to make those introductions. So we have the team, we have the network, and we also have the technology. So we've built our own client portal. We've had this for years. We've continued to do improvements on it over the years. And this is a all-in-one place where they can manage all of the different technologies and all of the data and documents that we produce for them. So the service itself is like having a full-fledged team executing the search for our job-seeking clients. So it's pretty robust.
Who's this process for? Can anybody come, or do you have
Yeah.
a certain profile that works best?
So the service costs between $900 to $2,500 a month, right? So typically we are targeting people that are at the mid senior or senior level or executive level. So that's just in relation to being able to sustain this for multiple months. So it is a monthly subscription, but we want them to not subscribe for a long period of time. Unlike most subscriptions like Netflix, where they want you to stay on for years, we actually don't want our clients to stay for too long. And the reason is, first of all, we're here to do a job, right? So there's other companies out there that'll charge an upfront fee of, let's say, $15,000, $20,000. And they may only work with you for a few weeks before they secure a role, or 3 months, or 5, 6 months. So for us, it just makes more sense to pay as you go. And that's why we offer our monthly subscription where people can upgrade and downgrade. But to answer your question, we work mostly with people within that are executives. So directors, VPs, C-suite. These are typically people who can afford our services. And naturally, as you climb the corporate ladder, the more challenging it becomes. There's a scarcity that you're facing in the number of roles available. And then there's also the level of competition. Right? When you're at the C-suite level, you're going up against some of the smartest people in America, right? So you can't just kind of wing it. You really have to have a proper strategy. And I think a lot of executives who struggle with the job search, that's really what they lack mostly is a proper strategy.
Yeah. What would you say? How long does it typically take? How many jobs do you apply for? Does it depend on the candidate, or are you saying typically we apply to 5 jobs a week? What are some of the numbers?
Yeah. So again, like you said, it depends on the candidate. There's a lot of variables, right? In terms of the job market, in terms of the industry, in terms of, for example, if the client's open to relocate, that's great for us because then we can target other cities around the world or around the US. So no two clients are the same, but in terms of the volume, we have a volume of actual applications. We have our recruiters spending a certain amount of time per day on the order, and they leverage different tools. So we don't say like 5 applications a day or 10 applications a day or 20 applications a day. We try to get as many within that period of time as possible. So, working with people who don't have too niche of an industry,
Right.
people who have at least dozens and dozens of companies to apply for. Let me give you an example. We had a client, a prospective client, schedule a discovery call, and he works within the toy industry. So, we pried a little bit. We did a little bit of research and come to find out there's really not a lot of toy companies out there these days. They got like Fisher Price. I don't have kids, so I don't know all the toys. I think Tonka is one of them, the Tonka
Yeah, I'm
trucks.
not sure how many are in the US, right? Or how many are just imported.
Yeah, exactly. That too. So, they're looking for a job in the toy industry in America, and there's really not that many companies that are really big toy companies that can afford to have a VP or a director at that level. So we had to unfortunately tell the client, this just isn't the right fit for us because we need more opportunities to apply to. We can try to help get into those 5, 10, 15 companies, but our efforts are best used when we have 50 or more companies that we can actually apply to, because that way we're doing volume, but we're also having a proper strategy when it comes to following up and when it comes to networking as well.
Yeah. Do the clients approve every job application, or are you saying once you have that profile narrowed down and approval upfront, this is the type of role we are applying for, you're just going for it?
Yeah, great question, Friddy. It's both, actually. So clients get to choose. They have a status that they can choose they can put it on like full autopilot, and then they can do like where they have to monitor it. So it's called find and apply, where we find the job, they have to approve of it, and then we apply. So naturally, it's going to slow things down just a little bit, but it helps to ensure that we're only applying to jobs that are relevant.
Got it. Awesome. And I think next topic, and I think that's kind of relevant, and everybody's asking about, right, is where does AI come in at the process, and where do you see the advantages of AI, and how do you see AI affecting recruiting?
Yeah, so this I can give you like a 2 hour answer for this because it's something that I've been thinking about and talking about for a long time. You know, I recently 2 years ago I sold a resume writing company, and I saw the growth of AI from then, and I realized, you know, this may not be the right industry for me to stay in, the resume writing. So
Yeah.
luckily I was able to make an exit there. But generally speaking, I think that AI is in a unique place. We're still kind of new. You know, we still haven't you know have we don't have more than 5-10 years, you know, with AI in this space. So I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity to incorporate more AI into the reverse recruiting process, but it has to be done very carefully. And the reason why I say that is because things can there are already a lot of AI tools that can help job seekers, but some of them will dilute their brand. And what I mean is, let's say, for example, like an AI apply tool. So you punch in your information, you add your resume, and then you ask this AI tool to go and apply to hundreds of jobs. And you started at 9 a.m. and by 5 p.m. you got 200 jobs or something like that. So the problem with this is, you know, again, diluting the brand, right? So when you're using AI, let's say, for example, with resume writing as well, the mistakes can be made. You know, when an AI solution is writing a resume, it can make hyperboles, it can make exaggerations, which may not be 100% accurate. So what we do as a company is we leverage AI to help us write these resumes, and we leverage different scanners to help us identify if a resume is ATS compliant, but a human is actually reading it. A human is actually composing the actual document. So I think, and this is how we have our company set up, it's important to have that human element still in 2026. So just for any future viewers, today is March of 2026. That may change by the time, you know, they are watching this video. But I think we have to be very particular and careful about what type of AI we're incorporating into the process, because again, we don't want to dilute our clients' brands. And when someone's you know, applying to job, we want to improve. One of the primary KPIs that we focus on is the interview to application ratio, the percentage of which of these applications we're submitting are actually turning into interviews. So as long as we're, again, and I'm always testing out new tools. I have, you know, every other week a company reach out to me to test their resume writing tool or their
Yep.
AI apply tool.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm very particular about which third-party technologies we adopt. But again, there's a tremendous amount of potential within AI, and again, I can go on and on about this for hours because there's so many different aspects of it, from relating to our service and the different types of AI that we're currently using, and the more AI we're going to be likely incorporating in the coming months and years.
I'm going to make a prediction here and say in 5 years from now, if somebody listens to this in 5 years from now, AI will play much less of a role than maybe even today already. I think
Really?
AI,
Wow.
yes. I think because it's going to get so easy for everybody to look great on paper. So
Hmm.
everybody can have a customized resume for a specific job
Hmm.
and get through every ATS system. So everybody's going to look the same on paper or look fantastic on paper. And then you need that human to human interview and interaction to actually find out, okay, did they just look good on paper or do they actually know what they're talking about? So
Yeah.
I can very much see an AI filter, right? I mean, we see it with when we submit guest posts and things, right? We have AI filters that can recognize, okay, has AI written it? Was it written by a human? And I can see ATS systems coming out with an AI filter that flag if resumes were done by
Mm.
AI to 100%, right? Maybe they have one, maybe it only allows 50% AI written resume, but they want to see, okay, what are your thoughts? Because otherwise the resume becomes, I think, pointless, right?
Yeah.
AI is going to get so good and so automated that your resume really doesn't say anything about you anymore. It just tells you, okay, were you able to work with an AI, right? So
Yeah.
I think there's a pitfall there where, right, you have AI in optimized resume talking to an AI system and an ATS system, and you just have AI talking to AI, and eventually companies are going to go, okay, that really doesn't give us any value anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a very unique perspective. I actually think the contrary. I think you're more optimistic than I am. I'm a little bit more pessimistic about the job market. I think eventually we're not going to be working very much in the next 20 to 30 years. I think majority of humans, I think, around Earth aren't necessarily going to be working in 20, 30 years. Whether that's start happening in 10 years, starts happening in 5 years, or starts happening now. I mean, if you look at the job market reports, I'm very familiar with the NFP reports. We track that every month. And then I look at other market insights about specific industries. Last month in America lost over 100,000 jobs, and you can see that things are becoming stagnant, right? So looking at job growth over the years, it's starting to dwindle, and you see these big companies now. I think within the last 24 hours, Jack Dorsey announced laying off 40% of his staff, and all these other companies are trying to find more ways to incorporate AI. So I think that I wish that you were right. I wish that you are correct, but I met with, I went to the TA Tech event in San Diego last year, and I met with Jeff Taylor, who is the founder and CEO of Monster.com.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually,
he
sold the company.
At a TA event too.
But yeah, so eventually, so I don't know if you heard about his new project, Boom Band. Yeah, so it's really interesting what they're doing, and they're trying to essentially have one job post gets one candidate, and it's super simplified, but it seems extremely complex when you actually look at it. They have like a North Star, and they have kind of a graph showing, what are the person's capabilities, comparing them to, high producers and within the company to find ideal candidates. So I think it's very interesting, but as I'm not a genius in any way, I'm more of an observer, and I'm very interested to just kind of see how the market evolves, and as an entrepreneur, do my best to kind of evolve with it and adapt as things continue to progress.
Yeah. I've talked to a few VPs here on our podcast, VPs of supply chain, VPs of operation. I'm fairly confident, right, it won't happen in the next 5 years. A lot of it, the AI, right? We've had algorithms predicting stock level and reorder points, and a lot of that things that are happening in supply chain, right? I think have been happening somewhat automated, and AI seems a little bit overhyped in some of those processes and not quite ready for some of them. And I think one drawback or one is the hesitation to give AI responsibility, right? You have to have a decision maker today, at least, right? People are not going to let AI make decisions, right? So AI is going to inform and help, but they still want that human person sitting there saying, yes, do it, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. On the other hand, right, I think I'm more optimistic than you are, where I think, right, we had the Industrial Revolution where people thought nobody's gonna be working, everything is gonna be done by machines. I do think it's more realistic that the workforce will shift. I think it's gonna rely a lot more on AI. We're gonna get a lot more productive. At the same time, especially some of the physical elements of work, right, are going to take a lot longer to automate. Elon Musk has been promising self-driving cars for 15 years now, and I think they're still not self-driving. So I'm not sure.
I haven't. No, it is.
His robots are getting on roofs and start doing roofing, right?
So I went to Jacksonville. I live in South Florida. I'm in West Palm Beach. I went to Jacksonville, Florida, and I have full self-driving on my Tesla. And I was with a friend, so we were doing it as kind of an experiment. I pressed the button to leave my driveway to get to the stadium, and I had to take over about 3.5 hours into the drive just because I had to find parking and I had to actually navigate to the right parking lot. But I think the technology is developing very fast. And I think, Elon Musk, some of these other, big players in the tech space, they have a better finger on the pulse than myself or you, I think. But I think they also have, because they have so much competition, it's almost like a race to get the first robot. So I pre-ordered the Neo. Are you familiar with Neo, the robot? I pre-ordered it, and then I canceled my order, actually. And the reason why is because it's a $20,000 robot. Now, it'd be great if I had some help around the house, cleaning up, laundry, food, things of that nature. But I would be one of the earliest adopters of the in home robot, right? So I figured, let me wait 6 months, let me wait a year after that comes out, and then I'll get maybe that robot or a different robot, depending on how things go. But I think we are months, if not just a year or so away from starting to see robots walking around regularly and walking dogs, running errands for their owners.
I've tried my robot lawnmower, and I tell you
Yeah.
that thing gets stuck. I'm at a point where I'm like, it might just be better if I go back to mowing. So
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, but I think right, it's those weird situations where AI gets stuck in self-driving, right? If they have to break a law because otherwise they're just going to congest traffic. If the traffic lights are out, nobody's letting them in. If there's weather they can't handle, right? I know some of the statistics of the Tesla self-driving fleet, which is, I think, only 50 cars and only 30% are operational at any given point. The other 70% aren't driving, and out of those, they do have to take over a lot more than the Waymo cars.
Mm.
So I'm more pessimistic, I think, in general and I feel like it seems to me, and I'm glad that at least in the large language models, they seem to have plateaued a little bit. I think when they first came out, it was a little bit of a shock of what they can do and
Hmm.
where they are. I definitely haven't seen that exponential growth over the last couple of years with those new models. They have gotten better, but I don't think they have gotten that
I'd
much
love to invite
better.
you next time you're in South Florida. We'll take a ride, and I'll put it in self drive, and I think it's
No, and
improved. When's the last time you were in a full self driving Tesla? Was it months ago or years ago?
last year in Las Vegas.
Last
And
year
it
in
did
Vegas.
it did good. We had sunny
Yeah,
weather, right? There were no unforeseen things happening on the street.
yeah,
They work, right?
yeah.
When everything is good.
When a plastic bag appears, then it doesn't know how to react sometimes. I understand, but I think it's just a matter of time, before all cars are self driving. That's how I feel. I think,
I mean, I've been dreaming about it, right? How great would it be if I can get in my car, say, drive me down to Florida, I go to sleep, and I wake up down there.
yeah,
I was like, we thought when I bought my last car 10 years ago, I was like, this is going to be the last car I buy that's not self-driving.
yeah,
Well, I've bought two cars since that haven't been self-driving. And we're saying, right, our kids are not going to learn how to drive anymore. They're going to be self-driving. At
yeah.
this point, I've definitely gotten more skeptical because I feel like we've been told, hey, one more iteration, another year, and it's going to be perfect. In a year, it's going to be everything we have always promised. And it kind of just feels like it's never to
Yeah, I
that
hear what
point.
you're saying, but the perfect is very difficult to accomplish. 100% no crash rate. I mean, I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, self drive has less car crashes than the humans, but that's also because probably the human takes over right before maybe the crash. But yeah, I completely understand your perspective. I think that the technology is just it's developing so fast from because Waymo's developing their own technology, and Ford is developing their own technology. Lucid and what's the other one? Rivian, Tesla, all these are developing their own technology. So I think that one of them is going to get it right. I think Tesla is probably leading in terms of full self drive, but generally speaking, I think that these companies are all looking for ways to incorporate more AI into their systems, and and I think this is affecting labor at all these companies.
It will. And I think entry
Yeah,
level roles will be affected the most in the short
yeah,
term. I
absolutely.
think because that's the task, right, that typically can get automated. It's typically those mundane, repetitive tasks that entry level
Yep.
jobs have been doing. And that's kind of how you learn the job, you learn the company, you do the repetitive tasks, and then you move on to taking more strategic tasks, more responsibility, more decision making, right? And I think the entry level roles will suffer. And that in turn, I think will create a vacuum for the next generation of leaders, right? Because
Yep.
if you have a much smaller entry level talent pool, where do those next leaders come from? And I do think that there will be roles eliminated, but then I hope, and that's my prediction, that there will be new entry level roles that are going to be focused very heavily on fusing AI within the different disciplines, AI in marketing, AI in supply chain, AI in logistics. So you get away from those traditional entry level roles that were data entry, that were repetitive tasks, and those will get eliminated. But I do think that there will be new roles created for entry level people to maybe become more innovative with AI and more disruptive and explore what's possible with AI. So I'm hopeful that we are not going to need general income, and that the industry will shift, and that companies will continue to try to create more revenue, create more profit, and maybe we go down to a 4-day work week and something like that. But I'm hopeful, and I don't believe in the general income, but I think that we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, at some point it may be inevitable, right? We may not have a choice, the government. But, I think there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. I think before people get replaced with AI, they're going to get replaced with someone who understands AI, right?
Yeah, that's definitely the
Someone who
first step.
leverages AI. So all these entry level individuals, let's say, for example, taking a McDonald's, there's probably not going to be people flipping burgers and doing the cash register. I mean, even now you see that there's an iPad that you order from and you just go pick it up from the counter. So I think there will have to be some sort of controller, I think, at that location, so to speak. I don't know if that would be an entry level role, because that'd be managing, let's say, a branch. But I think we're maybe a couple years away from having one person manage a McDonald's, and maybe 30, 40 years away, or 20 years away, let's say, is more optimistic, of having nobody actually at the physical branch. And then everything is done virtually and remotely. So I think it's going to be frustrating, actually, for a lot of Americans, because even now I call my insurance company, I'll call my bank, and then I got an automated AI response.
And people don't
thing.
like it.
I don't like it. Yeah, nobody likes that. But the problem is that it's so much cheaper. It's incredibly cheaper to have that AI tool than to have a whole call center of people, right, that are there available 24/7. So I think most companies are kind of gravitating towards that in order to cut costs. And that's why I'm so particular about the AI that we're incorporating, because I don't want to diminish the quality of our service, and I don't want our clients to have any inaccurate resumes going out.
And good AI can be, right? Sometimes good AI is better than a call center, I feel like. On the flip side, right, in the interview process, there's companies out there that have AI interview tools now, where the first round of interview is not with a person, but with an AI tool.
I've been using those.
Candidates absolutely hate that. And I can almost guarantee you, if you want like the top 10% of talent pool, if you're looking to hire passive candidates or attract candidates to your organization that can help increase the talent level, having that tool right now is a no-go. And I know companies like Google, for their software engineering roles, they are back to in-person interviews only, because candidates were using AI to cheat.
Yeah.
So I know, for example, Google is back to in-person because that's the only way they can truly evaluate somebody's knowledge and skill, is to be there in person and talk to somebody in person. And I do think in the short term, that's where we're interviewing, right, I think is gonna the companies that are gonna put an AI screen or an AI bouncer in front of their interview process before they can talk to a real person will lose out on talent. So I think there's a place for AI in the interview process. I think there is value. It saved us multiple hours per week per person, right? We do transcripts, so we don't have to take notes anymore. So when we are talking to candidates back in the day, right, we were taking notes. We were distracted. We couldn't fully focus on the interview. We don't have to take notes anymore. AI is perfect at taking notes, right? AI is also really good at summarizing a conversation, giving the right prompts, right? Where we not allow AI to make up any information, right? So yeah, I think AI used correctly in the right circumstances is a huge value add. You just, I think, have to be selective on when and where it's helping and where it's hurting, even if it saves you time, right? If it damages your reputation, either on your brand, like you said, both on the candidate side as well as on the hiring client side for us, that's something I think AI can hurt more than can help.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for the first time I had a tool, I just tested it out to do AI interviews. and it was just the AI asking questions to the candidate, and they responded. And I saw it even gave me a grade. This candidate did great. This candidate didn't want to share any project information with an AI, which is understandable,
Yep.
right? But I think you have a great point, and I think what Google is doing, I think a lot of companies are going to start doing is again moving more towards those in-person interviews to ensure that people can't cheat. We all saw the videos of people on doing online interviews, and they have the answers to the questions right in front of them. So,
because the next step to AI doing the interviews, right, is a candidate having AI giving the answers. If you're not talking to a real person anymore, right, you're going to have an AI asking questions, and you're going to have an AI giving answers.
That's what it is. AIs are doing so much of the work now that I think there has to be an optimal ratio, right, of how much AI is incorporated, how many humans are incorporated. And I think right now I'm reluctant to get AI past the 50% marker, right? I think we're still at 65, 70% human, 30% AI at my company, my personal recruiter. And I think that's a healthy ratio right now. But as time goes on, that may change. But like you said, I think leaders like us just have to be very particular about what type of AI we're incorporating into the process.
Yeah, I think only time will tell how this ends.
Yeah, we're just going to see. We're all here passengers, just kind of trying to stay ahead of the market.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I mean, we've had a lot of new services that we added to our subscriptions. So different types of we have different types of marketing efforts, but more importantly, again, we're incorporating these different types of AI tools into what we're doing, outreach tools, helping our clients really get more exposure. I'm very optimistic about the future with this particular company, maybe not for the next 30 years, but at least for the next 5 to 10 years. I think that this is going to continue to grow as an industry, the reverse recruiting aspect, because the pain of the job seeker is not going anywhere, especially for people who aren't leveraging AI, especially for people who aren't customizing their resume when filling out applications. So we're getting more and more interest now than we've ever gotten in the past, and I expect that to increase moving forward.
Fantastic. Tell our listeners again, what's the website? Where can they find you?
Yeah, website is mypersonalrecruiter.com. You guys can give us a call during business hours as well, just to learn more. The number is 8.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you. Really appreciate your time today. And we'll stay in touch, and hopefully we can do this again.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Bye.